Yitzi, guess what?
What?
It's Thursday. Time to talk Parsha.
Let's go.
So this week's Parsha, Chukat, we're at the beginning of the end. Finally, after all these years in the desert, 40th year of the desert. On the one hand, very sad, Miriam and Aaron leave us. But towards the end of the Parsha, we have the first battles of Am Yisrael in order to conquer the land of Israel. And in the middle of all this, we find maybe the only chet of Moshe and Aaron, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe and Aaron to go talk to the rock in order to give water to Am Yisrael. And instead, Moshe Rabbeinu goes and hits the rock. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds to Moshe and Aaron and says, Ya no emantem bi, you guys did not believe in me, like they said, to sanctify me in the eyes of Am Yisrael. Obviously, the great question is, what's so bad about this? Moshe Rabbeinu hits the rock instead of talking. Is that not a huge miracle for water to come out of a rock? Why is that less of a miracle? If you take a closer look at the psukim themselves, you can find a very interesting pattern within our Parsha. In the beginning of the Parsha, we find Miriam that dies, and right after she dies, the water stops. And Am Yisrael comes to complain with Moshe, meaning to say that Am Yisrael saw themselves equal to Moshe. Moshe is the representative of God in this world. However, after Aharon dies, which was after the Mei Merivah, you see that Am Yisrael comes to argue with Hashem and Moshe. And Rashi emphasizes twice, Am Yisrael compared Moshe to Hashem. And maybe this exactly was the problem, where Am Yisrael, after going through 40 years in the desert and going through this changing of a mindset where they finally recognize God as the ultimate master of the universe, in charge of everything, and stop being dependent on human beings, suddenly again they fall to that level where they look at objects and stop looking directly at God himself.
Yeah, I totally agree. When Hashem tells Moshe to go speak to the rock, at the rock, you could actually read the words, V'dibartem el hasela, not speaking to the rock, but speaking at the rock, etzel hasela. And he tells Moshe, go there and take the staff. Kachet hamateh milifnei Hashem. Take the staff from before God. In a way, maybe the staff, the object, as you said, was in between, was in the way. Am Yisrael couldn't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu because they saw the staff. And then Hashem wanted Moshe to take the staff, but to do something he's never done with the staff before. And that's not use it. Hold the staff, but just not use it. And by that, he would be showing Am Yisrael that it's not about the staff. And it's not about Moshe Rabbeinu either. It's about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this maybe explains why in Dvarim, Moshe Rabbeinu says something very strange. He says he davens to go into Israel and for Hashem to forgive him. And he says, and Hashem didn't allow him for you. If it's a punishment for hitting the rock, why is he blaming Am Yisrael? Why is it their fault? But if the purpose of Moshe not going into Israel is because Am Yisrael wasn't capable of going into Israel with Moshe Rabbeinu, so this is for you, for Am Yisrael, because if Am Yisrael would go into Eretz Israel with Moshe Rabbeinu, they wouldn't be able to really be in the right mindset to finally enter Israel. They need to leave the world of the desert, the world where they have Moshe Rabbeinu and he does magic for them. Maybe revise that opportunity for Bnei Israel and Moshe Rabbeinu for these dynamics to change. If Moshe Rabbeinu would go and not hit the rock, maybe this would shift. Maybe they would understand that Moshe Rabbeinu could lead them into Eretz Israel, but he isn't God. He doesn't replace, he's not something they turn to, not the staff and not Moshe Rabbeinu. And this is maybe why the words used later to describe what Moshe and Aaron did, it says, Ma'altem betoch bnei Israel. Me'ilah is when you steal something that belongs to the Mikdash. You steal something that so-called belongs to God. What did Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron steal? So the pasuk says, Ma'altem bi betoch bnei Israel. They stole Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael was supposed to look up to God, and instead of looking up to God, they're again looking up to Moshe. Moshe can't enter Eretz Israel because Am Yisrael couldn't go in with Moshe Rabbeinu in the way, couldn't go in with the staff standing in between Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They had to have emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not in a staff.
Obviously, there's a big difference the way Am Yisrael viewed Moshe Rabbeinu before Mei Merivah, and after Mei Merivah again, they bounced back to that place where they saw Moshe Rabbeinu being godly and as a small god on earth. And perhaps that's the bigger problem with the Chetir. However, it begs the question though, because right after Am Yisrael complains about the man, after Aaron dies, snakes come. And when the snakes come, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe to create a snake and put it on a stick and make the Nachash and Nechoshet. And again, the question is, why? you're creating an object for Am Yisrael to look at?
Actually, Chazal say, "V'chi nachash memit or nachash mechayed." Does the snake kill or does the snake cure, bring life? And I think that what Chazal are saying is that's exactly the point. Meaning, it's not about creating another object instead of the staff. The opposite. On the positive side, they were looking at the staff as a wonder maker, as something that creates miracles. And now they're looking at the snake that's biting them as one that creates evil. And what Moshe is teaching them and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is teaching them is, let's take that same snake, the bad, and it can be the good, because it's not about the object. It's not about the snake. It's about what's behind them. Stop focusing on those objects. Stop focusing on the representation of something. Look in the essence behind it, in HaKadosh Baruch Hu who's driving it to you. Why is he bringing this to you? When you see that same object kill you and save you, you begin to realize it's not about the object.
So like you were saying, to some extent, Am Yisrael couldn't have gone into Eretz Israel with Moshe Rabbeinu because of the dependency on Moshe Rabbeinu. They had to disconnect from that dependency. They had to understand that it's Am Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in charge of Am Yisrael, and Am Yisrael are there to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to get everything they need from Hashem directly, without any intermediate, without anything or anybody in between them. And especially today, sometimes it's hard to understand this because we are human beings. We like to glorify people. We like to glorify stories. It's also important for us, things to look up to, things that we want to achieve in life. We have to set that bar high, and we have to look for references in order to tell ourselves that we can reach those bars. But we always have to remember also that it's within us. Our relationship with God is direct. We don't need anything in between us. We don't need anything else to uplift us. We can all do it by ourselves. And it's really important to remember that it's not about the person we glorify, the story we glorify, the symbol. It's about what they symbolize, what we want to learn from it, what we want to achieve from it.
Yeah, I totally agree. We have people and we have symbols that we look up to, but it's not about them. It's about what they've done. It's about what they symbolize for us. It's about what they help us achieve. And we have to not get stuck on that surface level of the symbol itself.
Wonderful.
Goya, great talking to you.
Next week, same time?
Sure.
We'll talk.